Hey there. We talk about teamwork all the time, right? It's like this magic ingredient for success. But what does it actually mean to have a real team? That's what we're digging into today. We're looking at the Five Dysfunctions of a Team by
Mm.
Patrick Lencioni. This book, it's not just fluffy advice. Lencioni gets real about why teams fail and, more importantly, how to fix them.
Yeah, what I like is how he gives you this framework, almost like a diagnostic tool. You can pinpoint the root causes of what's going wrong instead of just slapping a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly. And he doesn't even let us off easy with the whole "what is a team" question. He says just because people work together doesn't make them a team. There has to be this shared goal, everyone depending on each other, a real sense of purpose, almost like a sports team where everyone has to nail their part for the team to win.
Absolutely, and so many companies, they miss that completely. They throw the word team around, but there's no shared purpose, no real connection. No wonder things go wrong.
Right. If you don't even know what you're all driving towards, how can you succeed? And this is where Lencioni's five dysfunctions come in, kind of like dominoes, one knocking over the next. The first one honestly kind of threw me. It's a lack of trust. But he's not talking about, like, can I trust you to grab my mail?
Yeah.
Trust. It's way deeper. Right.
Right, it goes deeper. He calls it vulnerability-based trust. Basically, being open and honest with each other, even about your weaknesses, mistakes, the stuff that makes us human, creating a space where it's safe to say, hey, I don't know, or I messed up.
And I can see how that would change everything. But it's tough. He tells this story about a CEO, a terrible listener, but no one would tell him because, well, he was the CEO.
Classic example, right? No vulnerability at the top, just trickles down, creates this whole culture of fear. People protect themselves instead of working together.
Wow. And that fear, Lencioni says, leads right into the second dysfunction, the fear of conflict.
Yeah.
But again, he's not talking about yelling matches and drama.
No, no, no. He's talking about healthy conflict, challenging ideas, debating different angles, everyone pushing to find the best solution, disagreeing, but in a productive way.
Makes sense. Because you have to trust your team to disagree respectfully.
Exactly. Without that trust, even if you start with good intentions, it just becomes defensive and personal.
And that can really stifle progress when trying to make decisions as a team, which I think leads perfectly to Lencioni's third dysfunction. It's this idea of commitment, or rather, a lack of it. Like everyone's on the same page, right? That's what we want.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But Lencioni, he says it's not quite it.
Yeah, he really flips the script on that one.
He's all about commitment, for sure, but not just everyone agreeing for the sake of it.
Right, because then you get those wishy-washy decisions. No one's really happy.
Exactly. Consensus can be the death of a good idea sometimes. You need people to buy in to understand the why.
Even if they don't love the what.
Right. Even if they disagree with the exact approach, if they understand the reasoning, they're more likely to commit.
It's like, okay, I see where we're going with this. Then you can at least row in the same direction. Right?
Exactly. And that leads us to dysfunction number 4, avoiding accountability.
See, this is where it all ties together. If you're not really committed,
You're not going to hold each other accountable. It's easy to let things slide.
it's fine, whatever.
Right. But when everyone's invested, they know the goals, then accountability becomes about support.
Helping each other stay on track.
Yes. And that's where, again, the leader plays a huge role.
Because if the leader isn't holding people accountable,
Exactly. It sets the tone for the whole team. Lencioni's big on leaders having those tough conversations.
even if it's uncomfortable, right?
It's about leading by example. Accountability isn't punishment, it's how high-performing teams operate.
It's about getting those results.
Yeah.
And that takes us to Lencioni's last dysfunction. This one, you're like, really?
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Inattention to results sounds obvious, but
Teams get caught up in other stuff.
all the time. Individual goals, departmental dramas, you name it. They forget the big picture.
It's like, we need to keep our eye on the prize, that scoreboard, like Lencioni says. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, right? And see these dysfunctions as separate things. But they all link back to that trust thing, don't they?
They do, yeah. It all starts with that foundation.
So how do we even begin to build that kind of trust? The vulnerability thing. Lencioni has some tools, right?
He does. Some interesting ones, actually. He talks about personality assessments, things like Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, that one surprised me. But it's not about pigeonholing people, is it?
No, not at all. It's about understanding each other better. Like, maybe someone's really direct, but it's not personal.
Right.
Or someone needs time to process, but they're still engaged.
Gives you a bit of a roadmap.
Exactly. It helps you navigate those differences instead of letting them become conflicts.
Which takes us right back to leaders modeling that vulnerability.
Huge, yeah. Because you can't just talk about being open, you have to live it.
Show it, not just say it.
Right. Lencioni talks about leaders sharing their own stories, like times they messed up, doubted themselves, didn't have the answers.
Makes them human.
Exactly. And it gives everyone else permission to do the same.
It's like, hey, we're all figuring this out together.
And from that, you can have those healthy debates, make better decisions, all of it.
It leads to those amazing results we're after. So if you had to pick just one thing from Lencioni's book, something our listeners could try today, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. But honestly, I go back to that trust. Find ways to be more vulnerable, even in small ways. Share a story, be open about a challenge. You'd be surprised what can happen.
Build that trust, and the rest starts to fall into place. Great advice to end on. Thanks for this deep dive. It's been fascinating.